So yesterday we were energized to learn, to find our passion, challenged to leave a legacy. As Governor Burgum notes, to create that world-class transportation network. Our cumulative efforts to focus on significance, that which lives on. That's where we need to go. Today, we want to expand upon that effort. As our day wraps up at noon today, our closing presentation is a high energy leadership presentation and one that you will never forget. It's meant to solidify our momentum for change, to remind us to apply what we've learned and to rise up to our individual calls for action. So as we wrap up today at noon, please note that the asphalt and the concrete conferences kick off at 2 p.m. today. They're going to start in Mandan at 2 at the Baymont Hotel. The concrete conference will be on level 2 and the asphalt on level 1. And we sure hope you'll join us later today for more learning. To get us started today, we have the good fortune of inviting the leader of North Dakota's construction world to the stage. Our presenter is a walking encyclopedia for all legislative issues and has earned the name Russopedia. He promotes quality, integrity, and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Russ Hanson.
Good morning, everyone. This is the first time in my entire career I've had walk-up music to go to a microphone, so that's pretty cool. I also think the Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive 55 is very appropriate for me because that was the first in-person concert I ever saw in September of 1982 at the Hislop Sports Center in Grand Forks at UND. And when the keynoter yesterday was asking about the demographics from millennials to baby boomers, and I saw the millennials here, I thought of that song thinking, I bet they think that's a really stupid song. What does 55 mean? Never having witnessed that was the speed limit even on the interstate at that time. But anyways, thanks for the opportunity and thanks for including the Associated General Contractors in this conference. It's been a wonderful conference and time very well spent, and I think the next day will prove the same. As many of you know, the Associated General Contractors is the largest commercial construction trade association in North Dakota. We're the contractors, we're the subcontractors, the material and equipment suppliers who literally build, repair, and maintain the infrastructure in North Dakota. And in doing that, we interact with virtually every one of you with the same common goal. For decades and decades and decades, the AGC motto has been to build with skill, integrity, and responsibility. And it's something that we do take very, very seriously. And in one of the displays out in the hallway or in the exhibit area, there's the AGC vision statement that mentions we are the unified voice of the construction industry, committed to quality and integrity and the successful completion of projects successfully and safely. And when our board of directors had their strategic planning session and created that vision statement, the word safely was very, very important for them to include in our vision statement to promote the AGC brand. Having the employees go home from work in the same condition that they go to work in is a paramount priority for our association, and our safety program, if we could brag a little bit, has the stats to prove it. The AGC members who utilize our safety training program are five times lower in safety severity and frequency of injury than those that don't. And we're very, very proud of that because we're all concerned about workforce, and that's very important. Speaking of workforce, if you haven't stopped by the Construction Leadership Council booth in the exhibit hall, I encourage you to do that. That's the Young Contractors division of the AGC in North Dakota. It's the next generation of leaders. They're about a 2-3-year-old division with the association, and they're off running, and they're the next generation, and you'll really like them. They're very bright and they're very fun. In construction, particularly transportation construction, we in the industry refer to things as black and white, with black being asphalt and white being concrete. And you witnessed even the governor having some good-natured ribbing that the two entities give each other on which is the appropriate and the better product to utilize. Well, we at the AGC, we're like the good Lord. We love them both, and they're both great. So we appreciate the fact that both of those conferences are in conjunction with this, and we look forward to continuing and seeing that in the future. Dale gave a great overview of day one and day two, and I would just concur that I think you will enjoy the breakouts and the Vision Zero session, as well as the closing keynoter. And as has been mentioned and is worth mentioning again, we also just, when we saw this theme and now are witnessing it, the one team, the one network, the one goal is just absolutely fantastic. We just think it's so appropriate. And to me, that immediately brought the word collaboration to me. And that's been mentioned by many other speakers, and I concur. And to me, collaboration means, you know, working together to make a complex process more simple to a common goal. And it also makes us realize that by collaborating, even though many of us have different roles in the same process, that at the end of the process, we realize that by collaborating with each other, that we are a lot more alike than we are different. And in that realm of collaboration, I've got a couple of true life examples of how collaboration works. And while they're specific to our industry, I think they'd be relevant to anyone. We are part of the Associated General Contractors of America out in Washington, DC. That was formed in 1918, and it was formed at the suggestion of collaboration from the President of the United States. We were in the midst of the Great War in Europe, and by being involved in that, there was the witness of their infrastructure forms of all types being far superior to what we had here in America. And in 1918, we were needing to connect from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and President Wilson met with a group of contractors up in upstate New York and said, why don't you guys get together, start talking, get some ideas, and bring them back to me in Congress on how we can build the infrastructure in North Dakota. And they did that. And that's how the AGC was formed. And we've been collaborating on the national level for over 100 years, hopefully, and we believe successfully assisting the industry. That wouldn't have happened without collaboration. On a more local note, I've been fortunate to be on the AGC team since July 1 of 2005, and do consider it a great privilege to be able to represent this organization. One of the first major tasks that I and other stakeholder groups involved in construction were mandated a collaboration, literally mandated for for sessions and sessions and sessions. The public bidding section of the Century Code, Chapter 48, had attempted to be amended by various individual stakeholder groups, whether it be us, subcontractors, the design professional, the political subdivision groups. But there were many proposals, but they were proposed by the individual entities. They didn't talk to anybody. We were as guilty as anybody else, and they would get in front of the legislature, and there would be disagreements, and sometimes embarrassing disagreements at the podium. So very little got done, to the point where the legislature got sick of it. And in the 2005 session, they passed House Bill 1260, which basically mandated the stakeholder groups to use the upcoming interim to get together and go through Chapter 48 and come up with a solution if possible. And quite frankly, it was kind of a running joke because there was a lot of distrust amongst the groups. There was personal animosity amongst some of the individuals. So everybody thought, these guys are going to work for 18 months and they're not going to get anything done. But we met monthly, sometimes twice to 3 times a month, and combed over Chapter 48. We rewrote the traditional multiple prime bidding section of the code, implemented 2 new delivery methods that were proposed in the legislation, brought it to the last interim committee meeting. It was proposed to the legislature, it passed the House and the Senate without a dissenting vote, and the governor signed it. And it really has been changed very little in all the legislative sessions ever since. And that wouldn't have happened without collaboration. And we continue to collaborate with people we used to not talk to very much ever since. So it's a proof that it works. And I think that could be a relative for any industry. So in closing, I like conferences like this because it helps us be better at our jobs. And when I was thinking about jotting down these notes, it made me think of a comment one of the speakers made at an AGC convention a number of years ago. It was a former Denver Broncos defensive end / linebacker, Carl Mecklenburg. And he addressed our conference, our annual conference up in Minot a couple of years ago. And in addition to being a very good speaker, he's a wonderful human being who I keep in touch with still today, and that was 2010. But anyways, one of the things in his message that stuck with me was a comment he relayed from one of his coaches in Denver, and it was Coach Dan Reeves. And when addressing the team and trying to get them ready for the season, he said to them, in either your personal life or your professional life, nothing stays the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And I see this conference as a tool for us all to get better and take something back to be better at our jobs and maybe in our lives. So enjoy the remainder of the conference, and thank you for having us be part of this wonderful event.